Say, come on, children, and gather round. I've got a lot to tell, because the clouds are rumbling. Don't think the world is tumbling. To stop that worry and lose that frown, you'll soon be feeling well. A little home philosophy is bound to chase that spell. So change all of your gray skies, turn them into gay skies, and keep sweeping the cobwebs off of the moon.
I came down with a cold or something that has given me some fairly bad laryngitis, although it's not the worst case I've ever had, since I can still talk. And I've started to recover from it a little, but I probably won't be able to sing for a while. A few days ago, my voice was about a fifth lower than it is now. I sounded like this. It's not so bad right now. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while. It's about a Tin Pan Alley singer that I learned about a long time ago when I came across a song called She Knows Her Onions. And I found a recording of this person singing it on YouTube. His name was J.C. Flippen. And I found him interesting because when I began looking into his story, I realized that I had seen him lots of times before, although I never knew his name. And the times I had seen him were not part of his singing career. J.C. Flippen, spelled J-A-Y, middle initial C, Flippen, F-L-I-P-P-E-N, was born in 1899 in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he said one time that his parents just called him by the initials J.C. because they never could decide on a name for him. But for his professional career, he went by J-A-Y, middle initial C, Flippen. His father was quite young when he died, only 48 years old. That was when Jay was 9. And his older sister, who was his only sibling, died not long after. She was only 18, or about 18. It's not known for certain. And his mother was what I guess you could say she was a semi-pro actor and singer. And although it isn't certain, it's thought that she probably supported Jay and herself after his father's death by giving acting and singing lessons and organizing local talent shows and performances like that. And it was through his mother that he got his first training in singing and acting. By the time he was 16, he was good enough to join a minstrel group called the Al G. Field Minstrels. He left home and toured with them for a while, not very long, and then began going out on his own and eventually ended up performing in various acts that led to Broadway. The Wikipedia entry for him says that he was discovered by the famous African-American comedian Burt Williams. However, his entry at the Encyclopedia of Arkansas does not mention this. Now, of course, during those early days, he performed in blackface, like all minstrel performers did at that time. He developed a vaudeville act that ran about 7 minutes. He would start with a song, follow it with maybe like 3 minutes of comedy, and finish with another song. And during the 1920s, he recorded over 30 songs, and many of these are available to hear from various places like YouTube and archive.org. And there was a compilation album called J.C. Flippen and His Gang made, which that entire album is available to listen to on YouTube, and it consists of 16 songs. One of which, as I previously mentioned, is She Knows Her Onions. And a kind of a funny thing on this album is, of course, these were originally recorded on 78 RPM records and later put together for this compilation, which I think was probably originally sold on CD. And if it's available now, it's probably also available as a digital download. But at the end of every song, as soon as the last note finishes, he says, "Turn it over," on every song. like he's telling you to make sure you flip the record over and listen to the other side. Of course, when you listen to the other side, then that song also ends with "Turn it over." That's pretty funny to me for some reason. In 1928, or right around there, he decided he would no longer perform in blackface, and he never did again. I've not been able to find any reasons for this. I don't know why he made this decision, but he did. And in 1928, he made his first film appearance in a short called The Ham What Am, which is just a film version of his vaudeville act. And I assume it was made for running between movies in movie theaters, like many shorts were. Now, if you look it up on YouTube, you will find the audio of this short film that someone has put together with a slideshow of photos of Flippen. So you can still hear the audio of it. However, viewing the short is much more interesting. The full short film, which is right at 7 minutes long, was at one time watchable on YouTube, but it is no longer there. I assume it was taken down for copyright violations. But it was on there when I viewed it, and I found it so interesting that I downloaded it, so I can still watch it and and give some commentary on it. Like I said, he had decided he was no longer going to perform in blackface. So it's just him with his natural face, and he makes these very like rubbery and exaggerated facial expressions. And the oddest thing about seeing this short is that there are pauses between jokes, which I'm guessing were apparently to allow for the audience's laughter. And he has a cigar that he uses in a strange way. It's like he uses it for calculating his timing between jokes, I think. It's a long cigar. I'd guess probably like a 10-inch cigar. And it's lit, so he occasionally takes a little sip from it for effect, like to punctuate a joke or something. But he also uses it in this strange way, which, like I said, I'm guessing was for his timing between jokes. And he'll tell a joke, and I'm going to try to film myself using this. I'm just going to use a pen because I don't have any cigars. And his cigar is much bigger than this pen. He'll tell a joke and then stick the cigar in his mouth, and he kind of wraps his hand around it one finger at a time. So it's kind of like he's got it like this. Oh, you ever hear the story about the Scotsman who wouldn't go to school because he had to pay attention? Like that. It's weird looking. And I can't do it as smoothly as he did. I'm sure he had to pay attention. I'm sure he had to practice it a lot because it's such a smooth, and it's so weird looking there. And I can't think of any logical reason that he would do that, except for one thing, it looks funny. It's just kind of funny seeing him do that, but I think it must have been for timing. Now I'm going to turn this off and go back to the slideshow. And I'm not, I could, show you the actual film of this, but I'm not going to do that because I'm afraid it might get this video taken down because the original has vanished. Also, I'm part Scottish, so I'm allowed to make Scottish jokes. Anyway, if you ever come across this short, it's called The Ham What Am. I recommend watching it because it's a really good example of a typical vaudeville routine. The music at the beginning of this video I'm making is a clip from the first song he does in the short, which obviously is Keep Sweeping the Cobwebs Off the Moon. So this short was the beginning of his film career, and this was how I knew him. I mean, I knew him from his film career. He became one of those that guy actors, which is like a character actor who you might not remember the name of, but every time you see him in a movie, you say, "Oh, that guy." And he got parts in a lot of now pretty much forgotten films. always playing like a crusty old policeman, or if it was a Western, he would be playing a crusty old sheriff. Or if it was a World War II movie, he would be playing a crusty old Marine or a tough old sergeant or something like that. And if it was a gangster movie, he would be like a hard-bitten criminal, that kind of thing. And as he aged, his face, it like really grew into the real appearance of what, it really fit these roles that he would get of a crusty old Marine or a policeman or a criminal. His first movie appearance was as an uncredited singer in 1934's $1 Million Ransom. I think that's a movie that's pretty much forgotten now. His first credited movie role was as a prison guard. So there you go. He's playing a tough prison guard in Brute Force from 1947. And during this time, he was getting lots of uncredited roles, as well as he served as a master of ceremonies for various live performances, and that eventually led to him emceeing many televised variety shows also. His first really big movie role was playing a Marine, of course, in the John Wayne film Flying Leathernecks from 1951, and he went on to make, I think, 4 other movies with John Wayne, which were all either World War II movies or Westerns. And I think probably the first time I ever saw him was in Cat Ballou, which was starring Jane Fonda. And I think that was from 1965, which I would have been too young to see it when it came out. But I saw it a few years later when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I probably saw Cat Ballou for the first time. Because back then, there was actually a drive-in movie in the next town, and my parents would take me to see drive-in movies with them. I'm pretty sure I saw Cat Ballou like in around 68 or 69 in that drive-in theater. Anyway, he started getting parts in lots of different television shows, and mostly it was just like a one-off appearance. He would be like a guest star in one episode of a TV series, and then he actually did become a regular with a co-starring role in a comedy series called Ensign O'Toole, which starred Dean Jones, who I know best from movies like The Love Bug and Blackbeard's Ghost. He was in The Untouchables, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Rawhide, Ironside, That Girl, and too many more to list here. During the filming of Cat Ballou, he got a severe infection in his leg that was probably exacerbated by diabetes, and he had to have the leg amputated. After this, he continued acting, but he often appeared in a wheelchair. His last role was uncredited and posthumous. Somehow, I guess it took that long, post-production took so long that it appeared after he had died. It was in the 1974 TV movie Mooch, which I don't remember which, but it was apparently a movie about a dog, and Vincent Price was a star of that one, and it was narrated by Zsa Zsa Gabor. His last credited role was in a movie called The 7 Minutes, which was in 1971, so it would have had to have been only shortly before he died. During his life, he was also sometimes the announcer for the New York Yankees, having been a lifetime baseball and Yankees fan. He was briefly married during the 1920s, but divorced sometime before 1930. And then in 1947, he married Ruth Brooks, who was a screenwriter, and they remained married for the rest of his life. J. Flippen died in 1971, and he is buried in Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles. This is the cemetery where many movie stars are interred. And Flippen is just a few spaces down from Marilyn Monroe. So, in conclusion, I wanted to do this because I found it interesting that this was someone who I didn't know by name, but I knew by all the different movies and TV shows I had seen him in. You know, he was one of those people that when he would turn up, I would go, oh, that guy, I've seen him before. And then I discovered that before his acting career, he had been a singer and a comedian in vaudeville. I just thought that was really fascinating. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to close with his recording of Magnolia, a song I'm sure you've heard. This is from his short film, The Hamlet Inn. This was his closing song in that short. J.C. Flippen.
Said Lovey Joe, a boy I know who has good taste for gals, was speaking of his lady love and raving to his pals. He says her name's Magnolia and she'll ruin any man. Now, of course, I can't describe her, but I'll do the very best I can. Now, take some honey from the bee, mix it up with TNT, and what do you got? Magnolia. Now, Clara Bow, ain't she delish? Well, season her with Lillian Gish. And what do you got? Magnolia. Say, listen, pal, describing this gal is trying. 'Cause when I'm done, it's 20 to 1. You'll say I'm lying. But take Cleopatra and Camille, add just about that much more sex appeal, mix a lot, and what do you got? Magnolia. Said take some fragrance from the rose, dress it all up in flapper clothes, and what do you got? Huh? Magnolia. Now picture teeth just as white as pearls, and add some gorgeous golden curls, and what do you got? Nobody but Magnolia. The boys all sigh when she passes by, 'cause she thrills them. Now, her silk hose are cheap, I suppose, but how she fills them. Take Sheba's smile, Salome's lips, Pickford's eyes, Sophie Tucker's hips, mix the lot, and what do you got? Magnolia.